Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. Today, we're going to be talking about buyer leads and referrals and how to convert people that you get as a buyer lead into a customer and someone you're going to be working with. These are some of the best practices that we've come up with over the years, and a way to really help you convert people, right? You know, what we need to do when we're working with these leads is differentiate ourselves from everyone else. People can click on, dozens of different websites to get someone to show an apartment. And by following these steps, what you're going to do is you're going to start to build a relationship, right? And the whole point of this is to be the person that they work with when they do decide to eventually buy. Oops, here you go. Okay, so again, many of you might say, why do I want to work with buyers right now? Right? And there are a number of reasons that it is a good time right now to be working with buyers. Number one is historically high rents, right? And it's really pushing people to make the decision of buy versus renting. The way that I like to pose it is, wouldn't you love to lock in a rental rate for 30 years versus it going up every year, right? And by getting a mortgage, even at the rates that we have right now, what you're helping someone do is know what their monthly payment's going to be. Yes, the common charges can change, different things can change, but generally what they're doing is they're locking in what they're paying for 30 years by getting a mortgage, right? And that's a great way to know, the majority of what your payments are going to be for the next 30 years. Again, there are other things that go into it, but it's not going to go up at the 10 or 15% like we're seeing many people have in terms of their rent renewals. People are also thinking about their living situations, right? And especially now as we're entering into the spring market, people reconsider, right? Be it upsizing, downsizing, wanting outdoor space. And we are seeing movement in all neighborhoods across all price points, right? For many of you I've talked to, we kind of hit our monthly goals this month. And we have contracts that are signed between $107,000 and almost $4 million, right? And so people at every price point are looking to purchase homes right now. So it is a great time to be working with buyers and to take advantage of the different buyer lead sources that we have. So again, the most important thing in all of these, and I don't really care where the lead is coming from, right? You can be getting an email or a message from StreetEasy. You could be getting a lead being passed to you from someone at Weichert Relocation, be it a Rocket lead or a Relo lead, right? The first thing that you always need to do is get these people on the phone, right? You can't make money if you're not doing anything. And you can't build any relationship over text messages and email alone, right? And what you need to do is pick up the phone and call them. And I say you call as soon as you get the lead, right? Don't let it wait, because you never know how many other websites they're clicking on or how many other people they're reaching out to potentially get information about that property. And so again, I always say you keep it very simple. You say, thanks so much for calling. My name is Jason with Weichert Properties. I'm excited to help you with your home search. What are you looking for? Or again, if it's a specific property, happy to set up an appointment to see this property. Or again, if it's someone from Rocket, hi Joe, this is Jason with Weichert Properties. Congratulations on your approval of Rocket Homes. I'm here to turn that pre-approval into your next home, right? Whatever it is, we want to pick up the phone as soon as possible and call them. What if they don't answer, right? And again, that could happen. People work, people have other things that are going on. What we do is we follow up the call immediately with a text message and an email, right? We're reaching out to them over the 3 different sources that we have of connecting with them. And again, the text can say, hey, it's Jason with Weichert Properties in New York City. Again, some of us have phone numbers from different states, not a problem, right? That's why I always put that I'm from Weichert in New York. They might be like, why is this Connecticut number calling me? You're going to tell them, right? Some people don't pick up the phone if they don't know the number, right? We always have to do it because we're in real estate, but other people don't. So let them know who you are, right? I want to touch base to set up a time to speak to you about, again, approval if it's Rocket Homes, your home search, 123 Main Street, whatever it is. Is there a good time for you this afternoon at, and give them times that work for you, right? Afternoon at 2, after work at 5, or tomorrow at X to have a quick phone call, right? And 99% of the time, people will respond to you and give you a time that works for them. And again, I always email the same thing, right? Just in case they're not checking their phone, they're just checking email. And again, if you don't have one method, if you only have an email, then reach out to them via email and let them know that you're going to be sending them some listings. Now, what we need to do is continue to follow up with people for the next week with a call, text, and email every day until we get a response, right? and everyone's like, what time is best? What should I do first? What should I do second? Whatever, right? This order works. You call them, they don't answer, text and email. The next day, call them, they don't answer, text and email, right? Until you get a response. This is not being pushy, right? They reached out about some service that they were looking for, and we're following up with them, right? You're a salesperson. In order to make a sale, you need to get them on the phone. You need to connect with them, right? We're being a resource for them. And so continue to follow up. Now, some people who are working with Rocket Homes, sometimes Rocket Homes will connect them with us, even if they're not fully approved, right? And again, if they say, oh, I didn't know I was approved, say, well, you submitted some information to Rocket and they gave you a conditional approval based on that. Reach out to your Rocket counselor to confirm the pre-approval, right? If you speak with them and they're not pre-approved, what I always say is Doug Cleary, our amazing mortgage specialist, Weichert Financial, will be giving you a call. His number is this, so put it in your phone and let me know a good time for him to call you, right? And then you reach out to Doug, confirm the appointment and that you spoke. You can also send an email introducing the two, right? Again, it's a soft transfer, right? It's not a hard push. If they want to use a different bank, that's totally fine. But giving them the option to talk to Doug is something that we always want to do, especially if they're not coming to us through Rocket. Again, if they're coming through Rocket, we don't introduce them unless they say, hey, I need someone else. Okay, so then what? So the next thing that you want to do is set up the search in My Weichert, right? For everyone who's on OLR, all the listings from REBNY should be in your My Weichert system. If it's not connected, reach out to Amanda, our MTS. She can help connect your website with the MLS. The same thing if you're a member of OneKey, you can also have those listings feed. So instead of doing everything in different websites, you can have everything go to them through My Weichert, right? Or adding that search alert is important, right? And again, what we can do is we can just base it off of what they reached out about, right? If they reached out about a 2-bedroom co-op in Astoria, then set up a search for 2-bedroom co-ops within $100,000 of that in Astoria, right? Again, Rocket Homes and Lead Network will always give you a property, so look for something similar. If no property type is given, just set up a general search, right? You can have the system, you can have My Weichert send them listings as they become available, right? That way they're going to be getting things immediately. It's a great way. ASAP is what you can check off in terms of how often they should go. And that way, anytime something comes on the market, they're going to get it. By using My Weichert, you can see if they've opened the emails that are going to them, right? And so that's really a great feature of that system versus setting up the search alert in OLR. If you're getting a Weichert Lead Network or a Weichert Rental Network, they're automatically going to create the client, so you can just add the search alert in there, right? If they come from a different source, you'll add the customer in there and then add the search alert. And again, if you want to make sure you're getting everything, you can also add them to the MLS if you're on OneKey or to OLR to make sure that they're getting everything from everywhere, right? We want to be exhaustive in our search and a great resource for them. Now, again, what you want to do is you want to make the appointment as soon as you can. And again, once you've got them on the phone, you ask them, hey, it's a great apartment or great building. You don't need to have any information about it, right? It doesn't matter if it can be shown at that time, if it's off market, anything like that. Get them to confirm to a time to meet with you, right? Or if they're not giving you a specific property, say, hey, I love Astoria. When would you like to go out and see some places? That gives me a chance to set up some appointments, right? If they ask for the same day, which sometimes people say, oh, I can see it in an hour, right? I always say, hey, the owner usually needs some notice. How about tomorrow at this time or Saturday at this time, right? And let them pick a time that works for you. Again, it doesn't matter if it's available. What you want to do is create some time for yourself to go back, do research, look at what's on the market, get some options for them, right? Rather than trying to just jump onto the MLS while you're on the phone with them. And then confirm when things can be seen and then call them back, right? Again, if it's a specific property, you say, hey, I'm going to confirm the appointment with the seller's agent and I'll be in touch shortly. 99% of the time, they're like, great, that sounds good. And again, call the seller's agent to set up the showing, right? Again, confirm the terms, offers, right? See what's going on with the property. For co-op, get the answers to specific questions that we usually get, right? What is the sublet policy? What is the flip tax? If the listing is not in OLR, or if you're on OneKey, if it's not on OneKey, confirm with the listing agent that they co-broke and confirm the percentage they're offering to Weichert for you being the buyer's agent in writing, right? That can be a text message or an email with the listing agent. That's a really important step because sometimes people will not co-broke with you if they're not on the same MLS, right? This happens in Brooklyn, this happens in Staten Island, this can happen in Queens and the Bronx. right? Most of the time in Manhattan, they're on the same board as us. But again, some agents in our office are on those different boards, so we can always work it out. If they ask you about the client, say, hey, it was a referral from my company, I'll get you all the information shortly, right? That gives you time to find out more, right? If they say, oh, what's their income? What is whatever, say, hey, actually, this was a company referral. Let me get you that information shortly, right? You don't have to disclose to the seller's agent anything else besides that. And they'll say, great, we need X to show. Sometimes people, especially on one key, need a pre-approval. Sometimes they want a revenue financial statement before confirming the appointment. Whatever it is, the great thing is that we can get that from the client because the other side's asking for it. Again, once you've confirmed the appointment with the seller's agent, confirm with the buyer, right? Call them or text them, confirm the date and the time of the showing. And what I always do is I ask after that first showing if you can get coffee to discuss the search and the process in New York, right? Again, the process here for first-time home buyers is extremely different than buying in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, wherever else they may have owned a property before. And so the most important thing we can do is sit down with them and do a buyer's consultation, right? This is a mandatory step for anyone who's receiving any third-party leads through Weichert, right? And we'll talk about this at the end, but you need to do the buyer consultation with them to make sure they understand the process. And by doing that, it is going to help you save time, energy, and effort, right? It's going to weed out certain people who can't afford things. It's going to build the relationship with that potential buyer to make sure that they want to work with you. And again, we'll talk about this in a second, but again, you set up the search for the client in my Weichert, right? Find some more options and you can go over it with them and see if maybe you can show multiple properties and stuff like that. And again, one of the most important things that you should tell them is that, hey, I know you're probably looking at different websites. That's great, right? And again, many people can talk about this. Your customers could do a lot of the legwork for you because people like looking online for real estate. Let them know that if you see anything else online, forward it over to me. I can do all the vetting and the due diligence on it, and I can set up the appointment for us to go and see it, period, right? Whatever website, be it realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, StreetEasy, wherever they're looking, right? Say, hey, if you see anything you like, just forward it over to me. I'll get all the information and make sure it's a good fit, and we'll go from there, right? And 99% of clients will do that, right? They'll want to find someone that they can work with and partner up with on this search. And again, by going over these things with them and letting them know what you can do, you're adding value, right? That's the whole thing. We need to add value to the people that we're working with. Okay, so again, you confirmed all the showings. Now we're there, right? What are we going to do at the first show? Right? We want to be extremely friendly. Attitude is so important in our profession that we need to be happy no matter what's going on outside of real estate, right? You want to ask them questions and build rapport, right? When you're there with them, and again, this might be a little different than what other people will teach. I always say there's no, right way to get to the finish line, but there are best practices, right? If the other broker hasn't asked for their mortgage pre-approval, I wait to meet in person and kind of do it during the buyer consultation to confirm their pre-approval, right? And again, if not, give their contact information to Doug and have Doug call them, right? It's much better to have the steps taken out for them, right? Instead of giving them Doug's information and saying, hey, can you call Doug? What we want to do is get their information and give it to Doug so Doug can call them, right? Then the onus is on Doug to reach out to them and connect with them. And what you say is, I'm going to have my amazing mortgage specialist, Doug, reach out to you. He can help you with a pre-approval letter or make sure yours is a good rate, right? Sometimes people have a bank, not a problem. Again, make the next appointment when you're with them, right? If you're showing an apartment, let's say you showed them tomorrow at 4, after the appointment, say, hey, when can you next go out? I always like to know when you have availability, just in case I see something great, I can set it up in advance. And usually they'll confirm a time that works with them in the future, right? Again, while you're doing the buyer consultation with them, which again should happen after the first showing, what you want to do is you want to get all the disclosure forms signed, get everything done, and go over the process with them. And then follow up the next day and ask them, what did you think of the property we saw? Right? Did you see anything else online? What else can we go and see? So again, the buyer consultation should be done after you meet with them for the first time, right? In person. If you can't, if they're like, oh no, I have another appointment to go to, that's not a problem. When can we spend, half an hour this week over Zoom, Skype, the phone, however you want to do it, to go over this buyer consultation?
You have to do it for any lead that we provide you with within the first 5 days of getting the lead, period, right? If you don't do this, we're going to stop giving you leads. And the reason for this is that if we do it within the first 5 days and get the disclosure form signed, right, the 4 of them now, you will be removed from the lead sources. And the reason for that is that by doing the buyer consultation, we are showing value to our potential customers, right? I'll use the example of me, right? When I was just an agent, I signed up for Lead Network when Weichert, bought our company and started working with them. I took someone out, I showed a property in Park Slope, and afterwards I said, hey, can we go grab a coffee? It's on me. I'd love to do the buyer consultation, go over the process with you. We did it, right? And afterwards she said, wow, I've gone out with about 10 agents so far, and none of them have explained the process to me. I really appreciate that you took the time to go over this with me. I'm going to be working with you. She was my customer and we closed on an apartment together, right? By doing the buyer consultation, you're adding value. You're showing your knowledge, your experience, and even if you're new to the business, all you have to do is memorize the buyer consultation and all the steps that go into it so that you can explain to someone what the steps are buying in New York City, right? We want this done within the first week or so of getting the lead because it helps up our conversion rate, right? These leads aren't cheap for Weichert to buy, for these other companies to give us. And so, and because our metrics, right, as a company and you as an agent are so tied to conversion rate, right? How many people are you getting to take out? How many people are you actually closing with? The more people that you can close at the beginning of your career, not only do we have more people's homes to sell down the road, but you also get more leads, right? That's the whole thing. It's all about success rate. And so by doing the buyer consultation, we exponentially increase that success rate. And that's why it's so important and mandatory to do it with any leads that we provide to you. Again, in the buyer consultation, what you're doing is you're selling your value as a buyer's agent, right? And really the two things that we can do is we can help people save time and money, right? Which are probably the two most important resources that most people have. And these come at no additional cost to you as the buyer, right? So I save you time. I'm going to do the legwork at finding and vetting properties, right? Do you know what an HDFC is? If you don't, then a lot of people might send you HDFC properties that they don't qualify for, right? They're basically income capped properties where you can't make over a certain amount. You're going to set up the appointments and confirm them, right? Saving them time and doing that. You have a team of people to save in the process, right? You have an attorney. You have mortgage specialists, you have insurance, you have contractors, any part of the whole thing as an all under one roof company, Weichert has access to that. And if Weichert doesn't, then we do from the experience that we have in the office. We also know how to go through the board approval process for condos and co-ops, right? Most people don't even know that there's a condo board approval process here in the city. We also save them money, right? We know the market and we can help you figure out things with comps, databases, properties. We negotiate on their behalf, right? The seller's agent works for the seller. The seller's agent's fiduciary responsibility is to the seller. Their job is to get the highest price for the seller, right? If a buyer walks into an open house without a buyer's agent or not being represented, and they try to get the best price, they probably won't, right? Because that seller cannot disclose certain things to the buyer. As a buyer's agent, our fiduciary responsibility is to the buyer, even though they're not paying us, we're being paid by the seller. Because of that, we can ask questions, we can get information, and we are working on their best interest, right? And again, at the same time, we can help them save money with those same team of people, right? The attorneys, the contractor, inspectors, movers, whoever it is, right? And so make sure you know that you do all these things, and make sure when you're doing the buyer consultation that you're letting them know that you do things. Okay, so again, the next steps, right? What happens after you take them out and you do things, right? And you show them properties and you do the buyer consultation. What you want to do is you want to send them options, right? And what I always like to do is max send 5 or 6 options per email that I'm sending out. Again, the MLS might automatically be sending stuff for you. That's fine. Double up on it and make sure that you're seeing what the MLS is sending, or you're seeing what the databases are sending, or anytime you do a search, you see what's sending, and tell them why you're sending them the listing, right? This is a value add. You mentioned you like to cook. This one has a great kitchen. You're looking for outdoor space. This one has a huge terrace, right? Whatever it is, make sure you're telling them why you think these are good options for them, right? It's making it so you're not just setting them up in a system and regurgitating listings as they come on. Continue to follow up with them every day or every other day, right? Either tell them about new options and why you like them, or say, hey, there's nothing new, but I've been looking, let me know if you see anything. Or again, ask them, when are you able to go out next, just in case I see something, right? You want to stay in touch with them so that they know that you're working on their behalf. You want to stay a resource to them for any questions that they have, and you want to be on top of mind. And that's why it's important to continue to follow up with them, right? Even if it's a quick text, hey, I didn't see anything new, let me know if you see anything, have a great day, period, right? You're staying in contact with your customers. Now, again, one of the things that most people do is they give up, right? The customer doesn't respond after their first phone call, they're a bad lead, right? You take them out to see something, they don't respond, they're a bad lead. That is not the case, right? Most buyers take 4 to 6 months to find an apartment, right? You got to think about this. They're making one of the biggest decisions of their life. They're spending most of their money for most people, right? So we have to be in this in the long haul, right? We need to make sure, and again, Weichert has a great system in my Weichert KB4 to follow up with people, right? Make sure you're taking advantage of it to keep on top of the customers that you're working with, right? Don't just say, hey, he didn't respond to me after 2 days, I'm giving up, right? Because that's not a thing, right? We either want them to say, hey, I'm no longer interested in purchasing, right? And then they become a long-term lead that you're just kind of checking in with a couple times a year. Or they say, hey, actually, I bought something or I decided to rent or whatever it is. And then again, you keep following up with them and keep them in your database, but you're not having to actively show them stuff, right? We want to always show our value to them as well, right? Make sure they know that you know your stuff and that you help them save time and money. Okay, so again, why work with referrals? And again, in most of these things, in most of these sources of referrals, right? We'll talk about a bunch of the different sources down the road. There is a pretty steep fee to pay for it. And there's also a lesser split than you might actually have, right? So number one, buyer leads are the easiest way to supplement your network, right? Part of real estate is making sure that you are creating a network if you don't have one by prospecting. And what I can say is that 99% of you guys who are on this call right now are not prospecting enough, right? You are not doing what you need on a daily basis to generate enough business to make this a full-time profession. Buyer leads are an easy way to supplement that prospecting that you're doing and whatever network that you might have, right? These are warm leads because they are reaching out on a specific property, they're getting pre-approved, they're putting in a request somewhere, right? And so usually the timeline of this is going to be lower than someone who you're just, cold calling. The only skills that you need are the ability to connect with people, right? Which all of you should have working in sales, and a knowledge of the sales process in New York. It's not like if you're prospecting for sellers or for sale by owners or expires or something like that, where one of the first questions they're going to ask you is, how many properties have you sold in the building, my neighborhood, ever, right? That's always a question that they ask at a listing presentation. I can promise you that, right? So this is a much easier way to get into the business because these are people who are more receptive to working with people who can help explain the process to them, right? And this is going to save you time on prospecting. So again, there are a number of different referral sources, and there are different splits for all of these. Weichert Lead Network, Weichert Rental Network, and Relocation Buyers all come at a 37.5% referral and then a 50-50 split, right? Realtor.com and StreetEasy leads are up to a 35% lead referral and then a 50-50 split after that. Opcity leads are up to 35%, so you get 65% at your split. Relocation rentals, once you've been in the business and closed enough business, are 15% referral and then your split. And intra-office referrals, right, from other agents in our office or from outside agents are a negotiated referral fee. And again, we usually take referrals and give them at 25% and then your split, right? So anytime you're receiving any of these leads, right, the buyer consultation must be completed with 5 days of getting any buyer lead. Again, in person after you show them the first property, or virtually in a worst case scenario, right? Skype, FaceTime, Zoom, whatever it is, right? Again, a couple of reminders here, the disclosure form, fair housing, RESPA, and wire fraud, right? Those are the 4 required forms that we need signed by any buyer that we're working with, must be signed via SkySlope or in person by your first showing, right? They're supposed to be signed at substantive contact. Again, we go over these forms during the buyer consultation. And again, it's something that you should get out of the way, then you never have to worry about it again, right? Now, the other thing that you can do in order to help with your prospecting is use any lead that you have, if you can't find something on the market, as a reason to send mass emails to a zip code, right? Think about this. All you need is one person that you're potentially working with to be able to expand your network significantly, right? Let's say you get a buyer lead who's looking for, you know, a 1-bedroom in the East Village for under 500,000, right? And let's say there's nothing that's not in contract right now. What you can do is you can use Cole Realty to pull the zip code, and you can send an email. Hi, my buyer, Joe Smith, is looking to purchase a home in your area, and there's nothing on the market fitting his criteria. I'm reaching out to see if you or anyone you know might be interested in selling, right? Think of how powerful that is, right? You don't even know if what this person has is going to fit John Smith. But if someone is thinking about selling, they can reach back out to you about this, right? And I can tell you from these emails, right? And again, this is not a just send one and you're going to get one, but from consistent emails to target zip codes, we've closed about $12 million in sales over the last 18 months. And again, I follow up at the end of these emails when I send them by saying, if you're looking to purchase a home, you can check out my website, jason.bauer.weicker.com, and check out everything on the market right now. Thanks so much for your time, right? And that way, if we're getting a buyer versus a seller, maybe we'll get something. It's a great way to expand your network. So that is it for my portion. I would love to take any questions that you might have about working with buyer leads. Anyone have any questions?
Jason, I'll just ask one,
Sure.
just in terms of working with buyers, just how you would handle someone who is, because you do come across this often, a person who sees more value in just working directly with the selling agent than they do a buyer agent, even after you've gone through all the benefits of working with a buyer's agent, and they still think that
Sure.
they can get a better deal themselves or that sort of thing by going directly to a seller agent. Have two buyers right now in my pool that very much feel that way. They do acknowledge that there's value there, but there's something that just makes them think, I can still get a better deal if I talk directly to the seller.
Totally. I mean, that's definitely going to be an objection from a percentage of people. No matter what we do, certain people believe that they can do better on their own, right? They might feel like, again, there's a discount by not having a broker. I'll use an example, right? I have an apartment that I've had for rent for a while. I sold it to the owner. We're going to be listing it, and the current tenant is potentially thinking about putting in an offer on it. And the first thing that she said to me was, "Won't the owner save, 3% if I don't have an agent?" Right? And that's not the case, right? Most people think, "Oh, I'm going to save 2.5%, 3%, whatever it is, by going directly to the seller's agent." And that's not usually the case, right? They usually just get both sides of the deal. So that's one thing that you can kind of refute, right? That's not going to happen. And sometimes people believe that. The second thing is they don't know oftentimes what the co-op and condo approval process is, and what that entails going through. Again, sometimes when you bring that up, and I found at the buyer consultation, they're like, "Wait, I have to go through all this paperwork, for a condo." And I say, yes, you do. There's a full board process for a condo or a co-op in New York City. And I'm here to help you with that, right? I will do everything. I've done dozens of these, right? If you're new, my office has done, thousands of these, and we will make sure that we get you through that full process. Again, sometimes little things will resonate with them. And again, I'm not sure, if you did the buyer consultation with them or not. Sometimes just like, even if you don't want to work with me, let me go through this process with you and tell you what it's like from start to finish. If you still want to work on your own, that's okay. At least now you'll have a better understanding of everything. And sometimes just doing that will be like, what? He's actually trying. He has my best interest in mind. The other thing that you can potentially do is And if you have a concern that they're going to kind of go around your back, you can always tell them, not set up an auto feed from the MLS or from whatever system there is. But if you see something really good, you can say, you know what, I found something. I'm not sure if you've seen it. I'd love to talk to you about it. But if I do send it over to you, I'd like to make sure that you're going to work with me on this one. And again, sometimes they will be okay with that. It is a tough thing because you will run across people who really think they can do it better on their own. But when you're talking about someone who's purchasing a home, your experience, your resources, your kind of everything should be better. And sometimes in just reminding them that seller works for the seller, that seller's agent, I apologize, works for their agent. Their fiduciary responsibility to the seller, no matter what happens. My fiduciary responsibility is to you. I want to make sure you're getting the best deal. Isn't it worth having someone else in your corner through this process? And if they still say, you know what, no, I want to work on my own, say, not a problem. If you change your mind, I'm here for you. Let's at least go over the process quickly so you know what to expect and then see what happens with that.
Great, thank you.
Exactly. Manolo was saying, yeah, the buyer in 99% of the cases is not going to be paying you anything for your service.
What's the case because some professionals.
Exactly. Exactly. They're not paying anything for our service. We're paid by the seller at closing. And again, usually what's paid is the same for a direct deal and a non-direct deal. So.
Yeah, nothing additional, because remember everyone, there is legislation going through right now through a law.
Supreme Court, yeah. So.
Yeah, we can't actually, or shouldn't be saying that you don't pay anything.
Yes.
You don't pay anything additional.
Nothing extra.
And look, I mean, in my world too, I mean, whenever I'm talking to buyers and I explain that it's coming out of the seller side and that, it is coming out of the proceeds you're paying, they totally get that as well, so it's not that, but just be careful about saying it's no charge.
Yeah. Nothing
Extra is being paid for my service. Thank you for reminding us about that, doing so. Anyone else have any questions? Great. And again, if anyone is interested in getting on any of our buyer referral programs, and you're not on them, again, the main steps are, number one, you have to be confident in the buyer consultation, the process. So go back through and watch the video, make sure you can do the buyer consultation with anyone that you're going to be given. Once we feel like you're comfortable with that, we can get you onto the referral programs, and kind of you can start working with people. Again, there are different programs based on where you're working. But the most important thing is that you have to commit to following up with these people. Again, for the first few weeks, doing the buyer consultation, and keeping all the databases updated. Again, there's a bunch of, everyone has a different database, there are different places they have to be updated. But there are some great sources that we have. And again, over the last week, I would say, many people in the office have gone into contract with buyers from different lead sources. So thank you guys for your time. Happy to answer anything you need offline, and I will talk to you soon. Just a reminder, we have our office meeting tomorrow at noon. Thank you guys. Have a good day.